So in today's video, we're going to be going over an updated list of meta class setups that you should be using in ranked play. And keep in mind, all of these class setups are based on stats and my personal weapon testing. We're going to go over the actual data later on in the video, but first let's get on with the class setup. So make sure to leave a like if you do enjoy these kinds of videos. It shows me I'm doing something right, and subscribe to make your way back to the channel. These are the available class setups that I deem to be meta worthy in the game, with the exception of the Pro 𝗧𝗏56 as well as the Vaznev. We'll be going over those as well as bonus class setups. Everything here from my secondary to field upgrade, this is all personal preference. You can obviously use what you want to, but this is what I generally prefer. Let's go over the 𝗧𝗏56 first. So this is my personal cracked 𝗧𝗏56 class setup. So in comparison to the professional 𝗧𝗏56 setup, those are a little bit slower as far as ADS goes, because here, as you see, we're not using a barrel. So what I'm using for the muzzle is the X10 ported to 90, and for the tuning, we're going with 0.59 towards aim down sight speed and 0.14 towards that aiming auto stability. Now for the underbarrel, we're going with the FSS 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏 barrel. For my tuning, I went with 0.10 towards aim down sight speed and 0.21 towards that aim walking speed. This is generally a good attachment for an underbarrel, mainly because there are no cons. Now for the ammunition, I'm going with high velocity. This will help our bullets connect to our targets a lot faster. And for my tuning, I went with 0.41 towards damage range and 3.48 towards that recoil steadiness. Then for my rear grip, I went with the demo clean shot grip. For my tuning, I went with 0.58 towards recoil steadiness and 0.33 towards aiming auto stability. And for the stock, I went with the TV X-Line Pro stock. For the tuning, I went with 0.26 towards that aim down sight speed and 1.55 towards aiming auto stability. Like I said, the standalone video that I posted for this one, there was so many positive reviews in the comments. You guys absolutely love this setup. All right, now moving on to what I deem to be the #1 ranked class setup. A lot of people might disagree with this one, but the stats do not lie. Like I said, we'll get into that later on in the video. This is the Kastov 762 setup that I'm running here. The stats behind this gun are just way too good to ignore. So for my muzzle, I went with the Tempest GH50, and for the tuning, I'm going with 0.62 towards aim down sight speed and 0.26 towards aiming auto stability. Now for my underbarrel, I went again with the FSS 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, and here's my tuning: 0.21 towards recoil stabilization and 0.01 towards that aiming auto stability. Then for the ammunition, we're going to go with the same thing. We got high velocity rounds, and for tuning, I went with 0.43 towards damage range and 2.90 towards that recoil steadiness. Then for the rear grip, we're going with the TrueTac grip. And for my tuning, I went with 0.32 towards recoil steadiness and 0.29 towards aiming auto stability. Now, one thing I must say about the rear grip is that if you're feeling like you can't really control that recoil from longer distances, then you could definitely go with the Demo X2 grip, but that's all personal preference. Now for my stock, I went with the Kastov Arama stock. For tuning, I went with 1.16 towards aim down sight speed and 1.94 towards aiming auto stability. This gun is an incredible beast. You get a 2-shot headshot up to 40 meters. This could literally be the difference between who wins the gunfight and who loses, because of the stats alone on the 762 are absolutely insane, and it will probably get banned from ranked play for being this good. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it did. All right, next up, let's go over this Vaznev class setup. So this is actually a class setup that I got from 𝗧𝗘𝗔𝗠. So he's a pro player for Optic. One of his videos at the very end, he showed his class setup. We're gonna go ahead and take his recommendations for it, and I did a standalone video for the Vaznev. Make sure to check that video out, because I go over stats of 𝗧𝗘𝗔𝗠's personal class setup, which you see here, versus the standard professional class setup for the Vaznev, and it's very interesting details there. We got the 𝗫𝗠 pendulum. This is going to help control that recoil at longer ranges, because that recoil control doesn't actually kick in until the later half of the magazine is almost empty. So for the tuning, we got aim down sight speed at 0.62 and aiming auto stability at 0.11. Now for the underbarrel, we're going with the FSS 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, again going along with the theme of minimizing as many negatives as possible. And for tuning, we went with 0.18 towards aim down sight speed and 0.12 towards aiming auto stability. For the rear grip, we have the TrueTac grip, and for my tuning, I went with 0.74 towards recoil steadiness and 0.38 towards aiming auto stability. Now for the stock, we have the broadside FCT stock, which is actually a new stock for season 2, and it comes with aiming stability, crouch launch movement speed, aim down sight speed, and sprint speed. So these are all great attributes, especially for an SMG that is meant to be used up close and personal, very, very aggressive gunfights. So all these attributes are definitely going to help you out. Now for tuning, I went with 2.19 towards aim down sight speed and 1.94 towards aim walking speed. And that's it for the Vaznev. This is the Kastov 545. With this gun, I do have to say it has the fastest time to kill out of the assault rifles in ranked play. Yes, it even has a faster time to kill than the TAC-56. I did a standalone video on the 545. Make sure to check that video out. You have to understand though, it is a great mid-range weapon. Once you go beyond about 30 meters or so, the TTK is going to drop off and you might lose those gunfights versus the TAC-56 or the 7.62. And also it comes down to player ability as far as reaction time and accuracy. So you have to keep those in mind as well. But under the hands of a very, very good skilled player, the 545 is going to melt up close. Now for the muzzle, we're going with the Komodo Heavy, and for tuning, we went with 0.52 towards aim down sight speed and 0.16 towards aiming auto stability. Now for the underbarrel, again, the FSS 𝗧𝗪𝗏 9.0, and here's the tuning: 0.26 towards aim down sight speed and 0.12 towards aim walking speed. And as for ammunition, we went with the high velocity once again, and we're going with 0.14 towards damage range and 4.65 towards recoil steadiness. And for the rear grip, we're using the TrueTac grip, and we have 0.81 towards recoil steadiness and 0.01 towards aiming auto stability. Last but not least, we have the Kastov Rama stock, and for tuning, we went with 1.03 towards aim down sight speed and 1.86 towards aiming auto stability. All right, now for some bonus class setups in case you want to use what the pros are using, but like I said, the stats as far as ADS are not going to be as good. However, with this TAC-56 class setup, it does have a little bit better range. Now with the stock, they actually alternate between two stocks here. It's either a pro will use TV Cardinal or they'll use the TV X-Line Pro. So the choice is basically up to you what you would want to use. And as for the tuning goes, I'm not going to go over the tuning, but feel free to copy my tuning on my previous TAC-56 class setup. It's pretty much all the same here, but you know, just for demonstration purposes, for the TV Cardinal stock, going with 1.42 ounces towards aim walking steadiness and 2.09 towards aiming auto stability. If you want the tuning for the TV X-Line Pro, just rewind the video a little bit and see what I did there. Now for the barrel, for the 17.5 inch Tundra Pro barrel, this is what I'm running here for my personal tuning settings: 0.35 towards recoil steadiness and 0.10 towards aim down sight speed. All right, last but not least, we have our standard Pro Vaznev 9K class setup. It's really simple, just 3 attachments. We have the FSS 𝗧𝗪𝗏 9.0, the TrueTac grip, as well as the 𝗪𝗧𝗏 stock. I've already shown my tuning for the FSS 𝗧𝗪𝗏 9.0 as well as the TrueTac grip. Like I said, just rewind the video for the previous Vaznev setup for the tuning on these 2 attachments. As far as the 𝗪𝗧𝗏 stock goes, this is what I'm personally running: 1.29 towards aim walking steadiness and 1.86 towards aiming auto stability. So now let's go ahead and talk about the actual cold hard numbers. What we're gonna do here is we're gonna quickly break it down from upper torso to the lower torso and limbs, as well as the headshot. When it comes to ranked play, every single gunfight matters, every single stat matters. It's the difference between who's gonna win the gunfight, okay? So at the end of the day, stats do matter. It doesn't matter about your opinion, whether you think this gun is better than that gun. You know, it all comes down to the numbers at the end of the day. So what I was saying about the 545 being the fastest killing assault rifle in ranked play, you see that displayed here in these numbers. From basically 0 to 24 meters, you get a 184 millisecond time to kill in this upper torso. The 545 definitely has the advantage up to this 24 meter range, and this is why I was saying the 545 is dangerous as a mid-range assault rifle, because the stats here do not lie. 184, we got 200 for the 7.62, and then 192 for the TAC-56. And then of course the Vaznev 9K, we have to excuse it here because nobody should be using this at longer ranges regardless, because especially when you're going against these, you're definitely going to lose that gunfight unless you're a pro level player. Then, you know, magical things can happen. But as far as casual players go, we need every single advantage here when you're talking about the stats. Now let's talk about the Kastov 7.62. The reason why I absolutely love this gun, despite the stats here, is, you know, take a look at this TTK. It's 200 millisecond time to kill, all the way out to this 44 meter range, and then of course beyond that it's 300 milliseconds. But regardless, it still has a pretty fast time to kill at multiple ranges, which makes this a very versatile weapon in various situations. Whereas, you know, a gun like, let's say the 545, you know, the damage TTK, it drops off after a certain range here. TAC-56 is definitely viable, but at longer ranges you will definitely lose to the 7.62, as there is a huge gap there between the TAC-56 and the 7.62. Now let's talk about close range engagements and why the Vaznev is supposed to be used at closer ranges, because look at this time to kill. In this 9 meter range you get a 154 millisecond TTK, which is absolutely amazing. Obviously, it's got the fastest TTK versus these assault rifles, as it should. Once you get past this 18 meter range, that's when it becomes ineffective, and this is why looking at stats and ranges are very important. You can't just go into a match blindly thinking, oh, pros are using the Vaznev, I see them beaming people at long range, let me copy them and do the same. Well, the thing is, we're not pros, you know, we don't have their skill level. This TTK is for sure going to hurt us in gunfights if we're trying to ego challenge people from these ranges out here with the Vaznev. But as far as close range meta goes and movement and ADS, Vaznev 9K is definitely going to be that weapon for you to win those gunfights. Now, when you're talking about the lower torso, the clear winner here is once again the Kastov 7.62. It's got the fastest time to kill out of all the assault rifles here. You're looking at a 200 millisecond time to kill up to this 27 meter range if you happen to shoot at the lower torso or the limbs. So this is what I was saying about the 7.62 being a versatile weapon. You don't really have to worry about being really specific and accurate of where you shoot your opponent, what range you shoot your opponent. You're still going to get a 200 millisecond time to kill. And then also up here at the upper torso, you get this 200 millisecond time to kill once again. This just adds a lot more forgiveness on the casual player end of things, and we don't have to be specific. Whereas the 545, yes, it's got the fastest TTK, but you got to shoot at the upper torso to take advantage of this very fast TTK, and then beyond that, you're gonna get punished. Now, talking about the TAC-56 really briefly here, this is still pretty good stats here. 192 millisecond time to kill up to this 34 meter range. But you do have to take into account being accurate, because if you're going to go against a 7.62, you must be accurate with your shots. You know, this is only an 8 millisecond difference between the TAC-56 and the 7.62 if we're talking about the upper torso here. But if you're accurate, you should win those gunfights. Now, if you're going to talk about the lower torso and the limbs, and we're talking about specificity as far as what part of the body you are targeting, as far as the stats go, is definitely going to be a coin flip at these ranges. But if you're accurate, TAC-56 should win, but in these closer range combats, 7.62 is definitely going to take the cake. Now, for headshots, this is the very interesting thing that you must factor in. Kastov 7.62, undoubtedly the fastest time to kill for headshots up to this 41 meter range, which is absolutely insane. Even has a faster headshot than the Vaznev 9K. There is literally no competition here for the 7.62. If you hit 2 shots to the head within this 41 meter range, you're gonna absolutely beam people. I feel like it might be banned from ranked play, so if you want to go ahead and experiment with the 7.62 and try it out for yourself if you haven't tried it yet, now would definitely be the time to try the 7.62 class setup. So besides all that, it's still going to be competitive versus the 545 and the 56, but the 7.62 is definitely king here as far as headshots. And when you pair that up with its consistent TTK, no matter where you hit the person, whether it's the limbs, the lower torso, upper torso, you are going to be forgiven with a very consistent time to kill. You don't need to be very specific with where you target the person or what ranges you're targeting them at, which is what makes it incredible. Pause the video if you want to. You can take a look at these a lot longer if you like to. If you guys did learn something, found it informative, a like is definitely appreciated, and make sure to subscribe, turn on noties, and I'll see you guys in the next video.